Hi guys, welcome back to Into the Light, a Different Life Story, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Today is another fantastic day for an interview. And this time I'm beaming all the way across to Toronto, Canada. And I have got Lisa Kelly with me. Lisa is a woman who has transformed, like so many of my guests. She, and like me, has gone through some darker times and has decided, no, let's turn this life around. And I'm dead excited to have her on the show because she really lives the law of attraction. And a long time ago, I thought, what a bullshit. Oh, that doesn't, yeah, right, this positive thinking crap. Meanwhile, I'm a convert and I actually try actively to practice it. But what actually is it? How do you live a life where you try to attract some really beautiful things in your life without just sitting there and praying and hoping kind of a thing? So that is what we're going to explore today. Lisa, I'm so grateful that you're here on my show.
I'm so grateful and excited to be here and to meet you. I've listened to many of your podcasts now, and I just love them. I'm excited to talk with you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the roses. And see, if Lisa does it, it would be really silly of you to lose that chance or to not use that chance. So down there's the subscribe button. Press the subscribe button, guys, and tell your friends, because there are so many great people here on my show. And I'm so honored and humbled every single time I get the chance to interview someone like Lisa. So guys, go out there, spread the word, and maybe we can make this world a little bit better, one interview at a time. Lisa, it's great. I mean, the law of attraction, it is something that has been around for such a long time. Yet, actually, few people really sort of get into it and truly, in the truest meaning of the word, practice it. What was the situation that led you to a point in your life where actually you thought, nah, this can't continue like the way it is?
My bottom, I had a son. He was 2. And I had not been drinking while I was pregnant with him. I felt the healthiest I had ever felt. I was telling all of my drinking buddies, I was still hanging out with my drinking buddies, but I wasn't drinking. And the great thing that happened to me when I was pregnant was I didn't have the urge to alcohol. I had an aversion to it. It made me feel sick. That was how I actually discovered I was pregnant, because I couldn't drink anymore. And I was like, what's going on? But it was a slippery slope. After he was about a year, I thought I was cured. Okay, I have not drank for about a year and a half or more. I'm like good. The geographical cures and all those other cures, they did not work. But the pregnancy and having a son for a stint, I thought I was completely cured. But it was a slippery slope. As he got a little bit older, I started going to dinner parties. I would bring him with me. And long story short, he was 2.5, and I had a little moment of clarity. You hear about the moment of clarity. And I said, to myself, how can I continue drinking the way I love drinking and yet not be a mom like the mom I had, where I actually saw my mom with drink in her hand all the time? I just didn't want my son growing up seeing me with a glass of red wine all the time. So I had that moment of clarity. I was just like, how can I love drinking. It's my passion. It's so fun. I mean, I was in denial about a lot of things, but like, how can I continue with my one true love and yet still be the responsible, loving mother to my son. I just couldn't reconcile the two. So that was the first moment of clarity. And then it was probably only a couple weeks later. It was just, one hangover of so many where you wake up and say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that particular one, I was like, okay, I got to ask someone I know, someone I kept in the back of my mind who I had seen drop out of my partying scene. And I heard through the grapevine that she was now sober. And I was like, ooh, that sucks. I really liked hanging out with her. So she was the one that I emailed, and I just was like, keep this to yourself, keep it confidential. I just want to know. Like, yeah, my ego was so big. Like, don't tell anybody that I'm actually considering this, but like, how did you stop drinking? And is life still fun? So that was the bottom. And I just felt like hell. Like I was so sick. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I was supposed to go to work that day. I was supposed to take my son, who was two, to daycare before I went to work. Like I was just feeling did you ever experience this where your hangover is so bad that when you're walking through your home, walking down the hall, that the wind is loud in your ears? Like I could actually hear the air in my ears every time I had a rotten hangover, and it would hurt. It would hurt the headache. I'll never forget that pain. The hangover, the wind, the air in the room hurt.
And okay, fair call. We could talk here for hours. But I mean, let's be clear. We are not drinking because we hate the hangovers. We are drinking for other reasons. What did alcohol give you? When you were a younger woman, what were you more a shy person, a people pleaser, or who were you when you were in your teenage years?
Definitely. Yes, I was shy. You got that right. Social anxiety. But what I have heard, I have been going to AA. What I've heard in the rooms that really resonate with me is alcohol was not my problem. Alcohol was my solution. Reality was my problem. I just wanted to escape reality. I wanted to put a buffer between me and the rough edges of life. Like I didn't feel comfortable. It was in my teens. Like when I latched on to that, it saved me in a very challenging time. It helped me cope with pain and abandonment and all the other things that I didn't learn how to cope with. So it kind of was my solution for a long time.
That's it, isn't it? Escaping reality. Suddenly you feel good. Suddenly the worries and anxiety, it just falls away. And that even late in my drinking career, that still was actually happening. The kind of after big glasses of wine, suddenly your shoulders go from there to that kind of sensation was still there, however fleeting and however short. The problem is, of course, by that time, the third and fourth glass were already in, and then doing already what the third and fourth glass does, basically invite their friends, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, and the eighth glass, and so on. And then you reminisce about the good old times, and then you wake up 2 hours later and have to go to work. Yeah.
Well, that was that particular bottom. Like I only had maybe, I think 4 or 3.5 hours sleep.
Exactly. And you were probably still reeking of alcohol.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the hard thing. I mean, I certainly, nowadays, my boys are 19 and 21, especially my younger one. He was a very cuddly young man. And yet, with hindsight, he said he hated to give me cuddles for some years because I was always smelling of wine. And that was very hard for me to take. That it still feels like a kick in the balls, but it is the reality. It is the brutal thing. So if you think you're a great drinker and your drinking is okay, your children, your little children specifically, they may have a rather different attitude.
Oh
So
yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful that you had the power in yourself to say enough is enough. How long have you been drinking? When did you start drinking?
Around the age of 14. And I was 39 when I wrote that email. It was like the first stab. It was just, I could, if I could have retracted the email, I probably would, but I hit send. It was just like, it was terrifying. It was terrifying. But I was like, wow, it's done now. Let's see what happens.
Oh, I'm so pleased for you. I'm so pleased for you. I mean, that was quarter of a century that you were collecting empty wine bottles. Congratulations. That is an interesting amount of time. It's the same time, roughly about with me. I was a bit of a later starter to get seriously into alcohol. The problem is there is a saying in general terms that your emotional maturity stops developing when you start getting into whatever your poison is.
Yeah.
So therefore, here we are finally turning our corners, still having the emotional maturity of a 14-year-old or an 18, 19, 20-year-old.
Exactly.
And which is an oxymoron to talk about emotional maturity and that age. So, God. But then again, here we are. You actually fast forward to today. We're holding an interview and we're talking openly about sobriety. We're talking openly about times that were guilt-ridden, full of shame, full of nasty emotions, and the self-flagellation that comes with, oh my God, I'm still drinking, and tonight I will not drink. Tonight I will not drink. 8 hours later. And it's that.
I even felt that guilt and shame even in sobriety. It took me a long time to sort of come out of the closet and just not care anymore and tell people. Like we talk about in recovery living a double life, but I was actually still living a double life in my sobriety because I would only tell certain people, and which is, it makes sense in a lot of cases, not to like shout it from the rooftops, which sometimes you feel like doing it right in the beginning, like I'm sober now. And, you have to kind of be a bit careful, but I was so careful. It wasn't even until almost 10 years where I finally was just like I made like an official announcement on Facebook, like on my 10-year anniversary or even
beautiful
12-year anniversary. It took me a while.
It's very much. I love the way that you say you want to shout it from the rooftops. A friend of mine, when she was in early recovery, she went to a party somewhere, and she started talking to the young man, and he said, "Yeah, I'm in recovery," and she was about to say, "Yeah," and then she looked down, and he was a sportsman, and he had a cast on his leg, and he was in recovery from his injury, so he was referring to complete different recovery, and she very quickly, okay.
Right.
She thought she had found a fellow traveler and can have that reveal the secret brotherhood or sisterhood.
It's true. I love that. The whole fellow traveler too. Like you can go anywhere in the world, and if like I have big dreams of traveling. My son is 17, and in a year from now he'll be going to university, and I plan on working from many different places. Because I've just been full mom for so long. But I was like, social anxiety still a little bit, like in foreign places. Long time ago, it'd be so easy to travel because I would always just hit the bar and sit at the bar and meet people that way. But now I can go anywhere in the world and just hit a meeting, and you immediately can connect that way. So I feel very relieved knowing that I have that to, I'm always gonna find my people wherever I go in the world. Fellow traveler.
And it is weird. There is a fellowship out there, very much so. My wife shouted me a really beautiful holiday. We went on to a cruise ship around South America 2-3 years ago. And there was one of the bars had one day a sign out there closed for the Friends of Bill. And I thought, okay, yeah, it was nice. Someone celebrating birthday. Next day I walked again, the same time, walked past there again. Friends of Bill. And I thought, what the hell? And at the third day, I finally clicked. And it was an AA meeting.
Right.
And I was on a cruise ship, which was notoriously wet and drinks everywhere. And it was so beautiful. So even there, or especially there, you had such a beautiful organized fellowship there. And it is so beautiful. So when you actually start out looking for people who have got their shit together, you can actually, we are not really hiding. We are actually out here. Right now, you're listening to two people who have been in interesting places, to say the least, and in interesting situations. And nowadays, we live such different lives. So, guys, welcome to this new life, because it's fucking gorgeous. It is beautiful. Yeah. It is there is power. And what I'm doing here, this is not fake. This is not some people say, oh, you're so positive. So it's disgusting. Life is not like that. Well, actually, life is like that. Mm-hmm. And that's Kelly, what your topic is, because you actually say that, hang on, it is the past does not equal the future. And every day you have got choices.
That's right.
How did you get into that? So you were there, you had enough, you emailed this friend. How did that go? Where did that develop from there?
Well, my friend suggested we meet for coffee. We met at a coffee shop, and I don't know what the word is, but upset, maybe for lack of a better word, to see that her solution was AA. And she passed the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, big blue book. It looked massive. She put it on the coffee table, kind of gently pushed it toward me and said, why don't you take this home and just, browse through it? And I was like looking around like, I totally recoiled from the book. And I was like, no, this can't possibly. I wanted her to tell me something else, like an easier, softer way. I didn't know. All I knew is that I didn't want to have anything to do with it. That thought just was repulsive to me. It was really bad, like my view of it, my perception.
What worried you? What was the perception?
Well, from what I had heard or seen on TV, I didn't know a lot about AA when she suggested I look at the book. I just knew, and I say the G word, that's all I knew, is that there was a bunch of people who talked about God. And that was such a turnoff. I was just like, no way. Like, you're not going to get me hanging out with people talking about that. That's all I knew. That's all I knew.
Perfect. And okay, so that's for the viewers out there for the great drinkers who are sort of coming into here and trying to sort of have a listen. They didn't want to hear about AA, and because they thought, law of attraction. That's how I work with it. Guys, let me teach you. The AA was founded in the 1930s by to people who really were alcoholics themselves. And they had tried absolutely everything from, we don't drink on the weekend, we don't drink during the week, we only drink hard liquor, no beer, we only drink beer, no hard liquor. They tried absolutely every variation and nothing ever worked for them. And then they finally came up with a systematic approach to actually deal with getting sober. And that approach worked. Now, one of these people was actually a very good salesman, and he was not religious. He actually was in the First World War, and he has lost his faith in God. And so the last thing he wanted to have is the word God. But he was a good salesman. So he actually realized that, we're living in the 1930s. We want to address people. So the way we can do that is by putting God in there. And that's really how it works. So the fact that the AA, the original AA was quite religious, was more a sales pitch to actually get acceptance rather than actually it truly being meant. And if you look at the way the AA is written, it says, a God of your understanding. So therefore, if you say, but I believe in Islam, who cares? I believe in whatever religious deity, who cares? I hate religion, who cares? God, exactly. God can be a group of orderly drunks, can be a group of druggies. Okay, that's how I like to rephrase it, because I was not into religion. I have not been touched by Jesus Christ. So therefore, I personally I'm a skeptic there. So, but I got around that because ultimately it's a really, really good system. And that is essentially what most people who go to AA are experiencing. And very practically, there are some groups out there who are very religious and some groups out there who are completely agnostic. Okay. So there is, whilst they might use the word God as part of the prayer, the serenity prayer, that's about as far as it goes. And if they meet in a church, that has bugger all to do with them being religious. It means that that is the cheapest place in town that they can get access to, because these are all volunteer organizations. Okay. So this is how that works in a nutshell. Don't dish the AA. They have saved millions of lives. And I guess the system saved me. And it is a system how to turn your life around. And that's absolutely beautiful. So here you are.
Yeah. I love that. If someone would have told me, before I emailed my friend that I would be in church basements, sitting with other people, looking at, the steps, where the G word is used, I would have laughed my ass off. I wouldn't have believed it. So one of the things that really helped me with that, they say the inspiration. I was like, okay, she's someone I used to like to party with, and she seems to be happy now. Mm-hmm. All right. I looked at the book, and the favorite piece, the thing that really had me have an open mind, were all the stories in the back of the book. Those stories, I identified with so many, and that's where I started to see myself, and I was blown away. I did not expect that. I did not expect that one bit. When I started to see myself in those stories, it really gave me hope. And so when I went to my first meeting, again, the slogans, one of the first slogans I saw was keep an open mind. And I was like, okay, I will try. I will keep an open mind. What's my other choice here? I was terrified. It was terrifying. But the other thing, I don't know if I'm pretty sure in the book, I know in the literature that we were reading here in Toronto, this is not a religious program. This is a spiritual one. And that I could get down with. I didn't have any spirituality, but I was already going to yoga. I had an idea. I really wanted to be into meditation, but I couldn't, not with, that old mind. So I was kind of open. I was like, okay, let's see what do you got, sort of thing. And then when they said the higher power of your own understanding, I was starting to be able to interpret it how I wanted and take what I need and leave the rest from the entire program. Like I didn't even use the G word for the longest time. I would just say universe. Universe was the thing that worked for me. And that's how I got into the law of attraction in a long roundabout way of answering.
Which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So, and that is the important bit. You created your own framework in your head that allowed you to see through the fog of misinformation, misperception, all those misses, and actually see, that actually makes sense. That makes sense. That's the shit. That reveals a lot about me. And I think that is the beautiful thing. The steps in AA are essentially handy next steps to deal with the underlying problems. You stopping drinking, that might be such a huge thing for you now, but that is not really what sobriety is about. And that sounds strange, but you're drinking for a reason, guys. And that reason is often trauma. That reason is often going back to your childhood. There are so many reasons that contribute to us seeking escape and trying to escaping reality. And that is really what you're doing in sobriety. And that's what the steps are helping you to do. So you just not drinking. We call that white knuckling, a dry drunk. That is, you have not dealt with anything like that. And these are, this must be real hell. Because people who are still stuck on that constant, I'm dry for 25 years, I haven't touched a drink, but if I don't go to every single meeting in the morning and in the evening, I'm going to be falling off the wagon. There's something a bit wrong there. Unfortunately, some of these meetings can be influenced by such long-timers, dry drunks, and it is what it is. The moment you deal with the underlying consequences, you deal with the PTSD, you deal with the depression, the anxiety in your case, and hell, don't I know anxiety? It's the most powerful thing. It's like wow, a superpower that you actually get your decks in a row.
Same. I was in more suffering with depression than anxiety. Like I was seeing therapists. I was trying antidepressants, but none of it worked because I was still drinking. I wouldn't admit. I couldn't see why weren't the antidepressants working. Well, it says right there, like, don't mix alcohol with these. And so I would always stop the antidepressants because they weren't working. I just for years, on and off, seeking therapy. Why can't you help me?
Exactly. Why can't you help me? It's your fault. Your fault. That's why.
And like you were saying, the drinking is just a symptom of the underlying stuff that's not been resolved. So that's what recovery really is all about, is digging or peeling the layers, like they say, of the onion. And you just basically do everything different than you ever used to do. Like life is completely different than what you used to do. It's all foreign. You feel raw and exposed for so long. And you feel like everybody can see it too, or at least that's what I thought. Like I felt like I was walking around with a sign on my forehead saying, I don't drink now. Because everybody I hung out with drank. It was awful during that time, but it was magical too, because we start learning about who we really truly are, like learning, becoming our authentic self is a really magical, wonderful process.
The other thing, of course, is many of us don't know who we really are.
Yeah.
So, and we're starting off, I certainly did, I started with a blank canvas. So I could actually dream and then learn how to turn a dream into a vision, and then a vision into a mission. And that is still the path that I am on now. And I every day I wake up and I've got the opportunity to redefine myself, to think, who do I want to be when I grow up, and work towards that new person. And that is such a beautiful thing that I get to do these things. It's a privilege. Yes. And a privilege I worked hard for by getting sober and by actually starting this journey actively, not just mindlessly bumbling along, but actually trying to figure out, who do I want to be, trying to deal with my demons, deal with my addiction, deal with my personality flaws, my all those things that maybe are not so ideal in my life, and actually putting focus onto it. And that is something that you guys get to do if you just choose to. And that, again, that gets us to the law of attraction. It is this kind of vision and this kind of, what do you want to focus on?
Yeah.
And who is this new person? Is this person a really angry person? Do you want to be a really angry person, full of resentment, full of, oh yeah? Well, if you just bring other people who are like that in your life, go for it. You can create that person if you want to. Mm-hmm. You just need to listen to very right-wing or extremist views, go to the internet, go to discussion forums, only watch these kind of things and wait for a month. You're going to be a very bitter person. Or have you got an alternative, Lisa?
Well, I mean, I just love, it's so exciting. It gets exciting once you're starting to do the work. You just start to be able to see and imagine what might be possible. And then understanding that we live in a world of infinite possibilities, and that we ourselves are full of infinite potential. And I think it's getting sober that really showed me that, wow, I can transform into a completely different person. I can't believe that I am not that person anymore. Like by doing scary things, by seeing the vision, or actually feeling what might be possible, and then taking, baby steps, scary things. But I find the really hard things, or the things that we don't want to do, or the things that do feel scary, they bring the biggest and best results. And so by getting sober and seeing that possibility and seeing, wow, I can do anything now. If I can do that, I can do anything. Yeah. It was like so liberating and freeing. And that spirituality that I grew from AA allowed me to have faith. Like I built up a faith. Things just started working better. Like for a while, I was just like, this seems too good to be true. Something's going to go wrong, just from past experience, thinking like, this seems too good. And then people kept saying, no, just accept it. It's okay to feel happy. I was like, wow, this is really, what a trip to feel happy and to be allowed to stay happy and to have peace of mind.
Yeah. To feel happy, to feel a happiness that doesn't come out of a bottle, or out of a drug, out of a tablet, out of an injection, is just a very powerful realization that this truly comes from you. I often recall that story when I had a strawberry, maybe a year down the line, 3/4 of a year after I stopped drinking. And I bought strawberries from a street side vendor and bit into that strawberry. And I thought, oh, wow, this is the most beautiful strawberry I've ever had in my life. What did you grow? What did you put in your strawberries? And what I had not realized is that this was the first time the dopamine rush came from something actually really beautiful, from the simple taste of a strawberry. And it was just gorgeous. With hindsight, that was the first time that my own system kicked back in. But it took me probably a year to actually come to that point. So, and that just points out that this is truly a journey. And you stop drinking. This is really the start. This is the very, very start. And then this journey really begins. That is a cool thing. Yeah. And as I said, you might be religious, you might not be religious. You might believe spirituality is a heap of hocus pocus and law of attraction is a heap of crap. But typically that would be, my guess is that would be the same misperception as maybe you had when you initially thought about AA. You didn't really know what they were talking about. And you just had this kind of nebulous kind of, oh, no. I think spirituality and me, maybe to a degree, were a bit like that as well. I'm a skeptic and spirits. No. I immediately think about ghosts and stuff like that. And you think, it has bugger all to do with that. Yeah. And so the law of attraction, how would you describe that? How would you actually describe it to someone who has no idea what you're talking about?
Well, I mean, I started to really delve into it because I was really interested in how the mind works. Like they would say in the rooms, like, my mind is like a bad neighborhood. You don't want to go there alone at night, or like something like that, or it's to that effect. Like they say it's a disease of perception. And so understanding that, you can have two people looking at the exact same thing and have two completely different views because you're looking through this lens of perception based on your past or old programming or old conditioning, things that you believe underneath in the subconscious mind. So I just started like that's kind of what got me into, well, what does that mean? How is the mind connected to, say, the cosmos? And I just realized with more studying and reading lots of books and listening to certain teachers that, we're all energy. We are all energy, and we're all manifesting all the time, whether we are aware of it or not. Our thoughts do create our reality. Like anything you see that's been created, somebody had to think about, did it, through steps and the belief that they could create it. And so that was like super cool and fascinating. Like it's not rocket science to understand that we create, if you want to have a cup of coffee, you see it in your mind and you just go and make yourself a cup of coffee. Things like that are easy. But once you start getting into like, oh, I'm visualizing myself doing something really amazing. How do I make that come into my life? I started getting into the energy stuff and the vibrations that we're on, and understanding when you're feeling on a low vibration, not as much energy within you. Energy and almost spirituality is almost the same to me. Like when you're feeling low spirited or high spirited, there are different energies there, right? And so it's really the law of vibration that makes the law of attraction be in effect. We are all on different vibration frequencies. And once you become in harmony with something, you can bring it in. Some things are really easy because you're on that energy level. Other things are a little bit more challenging, and you have to, the faith and the belief is almost more important than the actual desire. Like, if you want something, but underneath you're like, nah, I can't do that. Or how, start thinking about the, how could that actually happen? That's where so many people stop themselves, because they just think that they have to have it all figured out. And the great thing is, you don't have to have it all figured out at all. You can see yourself doing it, hold the faith, take baby steps, even if you're just throwing like darts at the dartboard. Not, as long as you keep moving, the universe starts co-creating with you. It's pretty cool. Like, when certain things happen and you get thrown on detours, and lots of times things feel like a challenge and a setback. But I now know, like, wow, okay, this, I used to hate when people said everything happens for a reason, but I truly feel like this is happening for a reason. I'm learning something from it. I might feel like I'm failing right now, but this is actually going to take me closer to what it is that I want eventually, even though I might not be able to see it right now. It's our 5 physical senses that really can hold us back, because we expect that we need to see it immediately. and I like that saying, what is it? Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it's not happening. It's like planting seeds in the soil. You don't always see the little seedling come up immediately, but you know that there are roots taking hold. And so that's kind of, I can talk about it.
So true. So true. And for those skeptics out there, guys, have you ever seen love? Have you ever touched love? Or the feeling of bliss? Have you touched it? Have you seen it somewhere in out there? There is bliss. That doesn't work like that, does it? Yet, very few of us would actually say, "Hang on, no, I don't believe that exists." So here is one example. Or the other example is there's so much out there that we don't understand. How can you sit in a queue at a red light in your car, and suddenly you know that the guy there over your left shoulder is looking at you? You didn't even know that there's a guy there. It's logic because there are cars behind you, but you know he's looking at you, and you look around and the guy goes. And he has been looking at you. How?
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Exactly.
Okay. So there are things in this world where you just have to say, actually, yeah, you might be right there. And then if you take that, then maybe there's a bit more out there, and maybe there's a bit more. And what's the next step of it and accepting that? Do you think that 150 years ago, my great-great-grandparents, if I told them, you will have one day a box in your living room, and suddenly a picture appears in that box, and they're going to be rays coming through the air and putting that picture in there, they would have said, you have lost your marbles.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we accept it for granted. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are things that we cannot yet see, but that are there. So why not actually open yourself up and actually say, have an open mind and see where you want to go with this energy. Yeah. I guess that the key point for me that I take away from law of attraction is that if I focus on all the negative things in the world, my mind will get negative. And I think this is very, very real. And it's very, God, so many of us are right now in exactly that position with COVID, with unemployment, with our complete lifestyles are changing. Add to that climate change, add to that right-wing and left-wing extremism around the world. My goodness, this world is going tits up. I mean, that's a fact. Does it mean that I now rule all that out. No, I don't want to see that. I don't want to believe in that. Nope. No, I strongly believe in being prepared. And many of you who are survivors out there, you have learned that you want to control your environment as much as possible. And that becomes your second nature. So yeah, for that, you need to know what's going on. So do I listen to news? Hell yes, lots of it. Do I accept that there are some really nasty forces at play out there? Yes, they are. But do I also take the opportunity to refocus on something else? Do I want to take the opportunity to now focus on talking to Lisa, to you, and making you feel welcome on my show? Yes. Do I focus on the fact that I, despite all that shit happening in this world, that I'm creating today this content here, where I hopefully can plant a seed in someone's life, so which grows in their hopefully fertile soil, and make them see, if these two numbnuts can get sober and live a fantastic life, I'm sure I can do that. That's so cool. That's so cool. Now the climate is still changing, and there are still right-wing guys out there, but I'm focusing on something different. And therefore, I'm attracting different vibes. Today, I'm attracting a feeling of lots of smiles on my face, actually, because there's so much recognition in the words that you say, Lisa. You're just sort of, oh God, many of the words could have come out of my mouth, and that's a bit spooky. So that's that kind of a feeling here, so I'm attracting that by having taken the step of actually connecting with Lisa and say, hey, do you want to come onto my show? So the question is, exactly. So you guys are there. So how do you want to connect? What is your vision? Who do you want to be? How can you get there to I don't know, whatever your vision is? It is, how do you get there? That is, which little step, tiny little step. This is, I mean, Lisa, you're working with clients, you're helping others. What kind of sort of little exercises are you using for as something to open people's minds about the possibilities, the endless possibilities that they are out there for growth? Have you got something that works for you?
Well, I would say that, there's so many. I mean, my morning ritual is so important to me before the day gets started. And I really help my clients get into habits and more healthy ways of starting their morning before just getting into that busyness. But I also really love helping people explore the idea of, if you were completely unrestricted, like if you let go of all limitations and you really tapped into your imagination, what is it that you want? If you weren't afraid, if money wasn't an issue, if all the other limiting beliefs, I'm too young, I don't have enough education, I weigh too much, or I the list goes on and on and on. I don't weigh enough. Like, you name it. If you took all of those limitations away, what is it that you really would be doing right now? What do you want to be, do, and have? And some people, they allow themselves to dream big, and I guide them with how to, lift that energy and get closer to that. But some people are just so, life is living them almost. Like, they can't even imagine, they can't even tap into that, because for so long they have, Bob Proctor is someone I listen to a lot. He'll say, you're not the director of your show. You're like an actor in the film of in the movie of your life. So you got to be in the director's seat. A lot of people, and the other thing I like to say is, well, how do you want to feel? If you can't envision it, just how do you want to feel? And let's go with that first. And it's usually joy, enthusiasm, excitement, joie de vivre, laughter, creativity, passion. And so once you know what you want to feel, then you can start to sort of think about things that you really want to be, do, or have.
And it's beautiful. And for that, you need to be guided. For that, in order to get these realizations, I mean, that is where people like Lisa come in, because without being introduced to such principles, you will never know that they are there. And so that is the amazing thing. A friend of mine started becoming a life coach, and she did a presentation there. And I thought, well, I better go along and support her. I didn't know if I'm the only guest in the audience. As it so happens, there were a dozen or so people there. And it was really nice. It was her first gig. And she, during that 3 hours of seminar, she asked us to pair up in pairs, come together in pairs, and for 3 minutes, describe in minute details the life that you want to live. In the most minute details, very specific, do it. Mm-hmm. And then the other person did it to me, and that was the end of that thing. And then there was a bit more talk. And then, so now we've got another exercise. Guys, and that was about an hour later. So now again, same pairs. And now I want you to imagine that it is 3 years down the line. And I want you to tell the other person how you are now living in your new life. I thought, okay, let's go. So it was my turn. I started talking, closed my eyes, and suddenly, fuck, I get goosebumps. It was such a crystal clear picture there. And I said, yes. And I what came out of my mouth surprised me. What I had achieved, what I had become, who I had become. And it was, sorry.
I love it. I love it. That's what happened.
Well, that's right. These goosebumps. And it was such a crystal clear vision. It was blowing me away. And I thought, wow. So there is such a power in this imagination. If you actually really, and that was, what did I do? 3 minutes here, 3 minutes there. That was 6 minutes in my life. Yet I will never forget that exercise, because it showed me the power of thinking clearly and dreaming, becoming a vision, becoming a mission. Yeah. This is a superpower that each of you out there can harness. Each and every one. Yeah. Now, don't tell me that you're too young, too old. Yes, I've had friends who had been living under bridges and who have been in really, really dire straits. Yeah. And what are they doing now? They're living very, very, very different lives. Who stops you? Why can't you do that? Don't even ask that question. Why can't? Because your mind will answer that. Your mind will come up with about 20,000 reasons why you can't be happy. So maybe rephrase that question. How would you ask someone to rephrase that question?
I always just stay focused on the what and the why. Don't worry about the how. Huh. Like you are a powerful, the energy that's coursing through you is the same energy that's coursing through the cosmos. Like we are all transmuting energy we're in a different form. If you can image it in your mind, you can create it. And I love the specific, the visualization with clear and vivid details, like so important. Guided visualization is a great place to start. Even if you want to quit drinking, start visualizing yourself as a sober person.
Absolutely.
And all the amazing things that could come from that.
And it's like a physical muscle. So you don't just go once to the gym and say, oh, great, I'm going to be now fit forever. No, sorry, it doesn't work like that. So you have to work these muscles. And then after a while, they get stronger and stronger. So your techniques of visualization, your techniques of expressing gratitude as a natural thing, as a natural part of your life, all these micro habits that Lisa is teaching you, they are they are perishable in their own right. So if you don't practice them, yeah, guess what happens? And if you don't practice them, yeah, well, you will never actually get to a level that you're even, more confident, more that you can easier use them, because there will always be otherwise new, and you have to think, well, how do I do that? Now, so practice makes perfect. And that is the same with our coping mechanisms, with our way we live our lives, with our visualization techniques, meditation, you name it, everything that can be so good for you. If you don't give it a go, and if you don't practice it, well, it's the same as you buy a gym membership and then don't go. So yes, no. Oh, Lisa, you're very much. I mean, I love the way you're phrasing things, and I very much buy into your concepts, and they certainly made a world of a difference for me and for many people I know. So there's a lot to be said about that. Lisa, if people really like what you said and sort of want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Well, I'm very active on Instagram. I am a visual person. So I'm on Instagram under the handle of lisakelly.life. And that's the same URL for my website, lisakelly.life. And that's the same end of the Facebook URL. It's facebook.com/lisakelly.life. So beautiful. And I'm on YouTube. And I should share that I do have a very popular guided visualization on YouTube. It's a 5-minute where it can get you into really seeing those images in your mind and feeling what is possible for you. So that's on YouTube. Beautiful. Too. Mm-hmm.
Check out down there the description of the podcast or of the YouTube video. And whilst you're down there and looking up Lisa's contact details, you might as well press that subscribe button. And remember, then go out there, spread the word, snowball turning into avalanche. Let's spread the word and let's change this world, because we have the power to do so. What stops us? Nothing. We can make this world a little bit better. We can't change everything, but we can change with ourselves, and we can make ourselves stronger, more resilient, more humble, more progressive in our open mind. There is so much we can do every second of this life. And it is such a power that we have got. Let's use it. Let's live purposefully, and not in a weird way, but just right now, when you stop this interview, what do you want to do? Yeah. Do you want to have a glass of water? Great, you're rehydrating. Do you want to take a deep breath and actually say, I might walk around the block, or do whatever it is, get some fresh air, connect with nature? How beautiful is that? So these are all steps you're taking. Or you could say, I'll open a glass of wine. And okay, fair call. If you're still at that level, then this is your choice. Don't beat yourself up. Enjoy that glass of wine. But we have planted that seed in your head. So I dare to say, the sheer fact that you're listening now after, nearly an hour of an interview. So, no. I think irreparable damage has been done to your drinking career. So the seed has been planted. Yes. The question is, how quickly will it start growing? And just let it grow. Let it grow. You know that change is about to happen. Hopefully it happens soon to you. And if it takes a little while, it takes a little while. Okay. Lisa, that was a great interview. I'm so grateful that you came onto my show and shared honestly your transformation story. It's very powerful, and I'm so pleased for you. And the past so does not equal the future.
Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed it. And yeah, like I said at the beginning, I could talk about this all day, every day.
That's beautiful, and that's exactly what she does. So get in touch with her and see that how she can guide you, how Lisa Kelly can guide you towards a life that has maybe a different meaning for you and a life worthwhile living. So Lisa, thank you so much, and you guys out there, look after yourself. Bye.
Thank you.